Well, welcome to another installment of the Bitch Project Zoom, I suppose. I'm with Deems Morrione again, the co-creators of the Bitch Project, which you can find on Facebook and some other places too, but mainly on Facebook. That's where we get our most creative. So, Deems, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, considering. And though she didn't introduce herself, my colleague here is Professor Ruth Rassool, who is my co-creator of the Bitch Project. And so we're going to start off by discussing the menswear post, because that's the first post of the week is usually menswear. That's what we do on Monday. So we're going to talk about menswear first, and this week's focus was on Giorgio Armani, and there was a lot to really like about this collection. I think this is one of the best menswear collections I've seen from Armani in a long time. Although, I mean, okay, in fairness, it's Armani, so obviously it's there. Even if you don't like most of what you see, there's going to be something in there you like because it's Armani. So this collection was, I mean, I don't know how you saw it specifically, but specifically, I love the color story. I thought it was really nice. There was a wide range. It looked really good. The patterns were great. I loved those reds he worked with and those blues.
I'm thankful that the color stories were so good, because we didn't like a lot of the tailoring, did we?
Okay, in fairness, we liked the tailoring in the jackets and coats.
Okay.
Where we were not as happy, and where our followers also indicated a certain level of displeasure, was with those pants.
Sweet way of putting it.
Well, what? I mean, it's Armani. We can be respectful. It's Armani. So, you know, lots of people like the baggy trouser look. It's back in. But I think if you know the reference to that song, you shouldn't be wearing it because you're too old. Then you just are going to look like Fred Mertz. But go ahead, yeah.
My rule of thumb: if you wore it the last time it was in, then you're too old to wear it this next time around.
That's a good rule of thumb to observe, because some people walk around in things that perhaps are best left to people maybe 1/2 or 1/3 their age.
Right.
But anyway, so those baggy trousers were a bit much. We had a couple of complaints from some folks, which, you know,
that's fair.
I mean, they're consumers too. They're our followers. Some of them did not like those bags. I mean, in fairness though, a lot of people like a boxier look.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a man who likes a boxy look, because then I just look like, you know, David Byrne in the big oversized burning down the house suit.
Well, I'm just going to go back further to Charlie Chaplin, but okay, let's stop at David Byrne.
Yeah, let us very much stop at David Byrne. You are let us not pretend like I could be somewhere in the neighborhood of the age of Charlie Chaplin.
No, I'm not suggesting that, but I'm thinking of a similar physique, let's say, and to put baggy trousers on that is not really.
And what is it? What was Charlie Chaplin? 3 inches tall? I'm considerably taller than that. Thank you very much.
I'm saying you're thin. What more do you want? Jeez.
No fair. You can't tell a joke when I'm trying to swallow wine.
Catch you on the swallow. I'm so sorry.
Yes. So.
But in fairness, if that's all that's available, if this baggy thing continues, then you're going to need baggy trousers that are Armani or some other designer that knows about tailoring and is going to make that look good, in spite of the fact that it's baggy, and it's still not going to look sloppy.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, you can dislike the silhouette and still understand there's excellent tailing here. This is definitely not sloppy. It reads as expensive. You look at that and you're like, okay, those are Armani trousers.
Yeah.
But then remember, the colors and the patterns are fantastic. So he's not skimping. It's just, maybe it's, but I think it also kind of connects up with what's happening in women's wear, that as we've already noted, and you'll see it next week in the Wednesday post when we do we're looking at Moschino ready to wear. It's for this whole season, it's all shoulders, sleeves, and hips. And even in menswear, you get accentuated shoulders, you get sleeves of different designs, and even you're getting pleats, you're getting baggy trousers, you're getting longer coats and coats with waist capes and other things. But what I really liked in this Armani collection were, especially in some of those jackets, he was going with Nehru collars, which I know is not your favorite thing, but I love a Nehru collar. I don't wear them very often because you can't wear a tie with it. And as much as I like the look, I want a tie, and you can't really do that. So yeah, I think there's a lot worth praising in this collection, but yeah, I mean,
let me sow a little seed now, because just as you were speaking, it made me think of something. So what you were describing was a lot of excess.
Yeah.
And we've charted this before, that when society is going through periods of excess, it's reflected in the clothes. We're heading for something that is not excess. So I wonder if this is going to be reversed in some way, and by 2021 we're going to see this kind of depression, or at least recession, reflected in the clothes.
I think we will. I mean, I don't want to jump too much into next week's topic,
right?
But yeah, I mean, that's what this is going to have to figure heavily into what we talk about next week.
Yeah, let's just put a little mark.
But yeah, I think sowing a seed is smart, because I think what you're talking about is, as going through a lot of these collections for fall, and keep in mind, this was all designed before the COVID outbreak.
Yeah.
See, this is why we always say, and in our presentation, why we said, if you want to understand where the pulse of the world is, look in fashion, because they catch these political trends before they happen. And I don't think that, I think there's too much of a tendency for people to dismiss fashion as being trivial, or it's just about clothes and that's all I wear, and they don't recognize the art form behind it, and that fashion designers are often really connected.
Yeah.
And I think I very much agree with what you're saying, because I think I think we're headed for something that's changing, and I think that a lot of these,
isn't it? So,
and when you look at the Armani collection, and that would be my other criticism, aside from the fact that just the baggy silhouettes don't work for me. There's a kind of, I really want to be careful how I phrase this, because I love Armani, but I think there's a kind of way that the collection reads out of touch, in the sense that it's not really reflecting where the world is going.
right.
Like, it's reflecting where the world has been, because it's all about this upscale luxury wear. You look at this collection and you're like, okay, this is for guys who are going to be going skiing in Stade. This is for the jet set. And it's not really addressing the fact that all of that might be out. Like, going forward, there might be, even if you look at some of the things that happened this year, what was the first fashion event that was canceled, resort wear.
Yeah.
And okay, that's partly because of the calendar and when resort wear shows hit. But that's also like, where the hell are you going to go?
Right. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more loungewear. And I'm seeing it now in marketing that, you know, while people are sitting at home, they're being sold comfortable clothes that
Mm-hmm.
still look stylish. And, you know, the emphasis is from the waist up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have a nice necklace or a nice hat or something. Because
Yes, I will be very interested
no one's buying shoes.
Yeah, I will be very interested to see what comes out of the fashion industry in September for spring. Like, what are the spring looks going to look like? Because my guess is that probably some designers have scrapped things they were going to do for fall and are probably going to be pushing more, as you said, loungewear.
Yeah.
But I think the spring collections are going to have a lot more of that in it as well.
And I think there's this thought that's just germinating now in my head. It goes into what we were talking about on Tuesday about how corporations get involved in the artistry.
Yes, you had some good thoughts on that. I really liked your perspective. So yeah, why don't you say something about that? I like that.
I mean, then they don't seem to care too much about the artist or the fashion. They see it as a commodity, and they see it as you know, a profit margin, rather than waiting for the artist to develop and something beautiful to emerge. They're thinking, okay, how much can I flog this for? Which is kind of sad and kind of cynical way of looking at fashion, and I get why they do that, but
I mean, it is a business too. I mean, yes, fashion is an art form, but fashion is a $1 trillion business.
But then if that's what they're going with, then they're also going to have to rethink that outlook as well now. Because it's not, you know, Louis Vuitton's not going to be selling a lot of luggage.
No.
So, you know, they're going to have to rethink. Everything's going to change.
Well, they do lovely ties.
Okay. I just fed you that line. You're welcome. So yeah, I think that everything's going to change. And the way that the artists themselves look at their process and look at their end goal is also going to change. It's going to reflect a time of, you know, a time of seriousness. So there's still a place for fashion and for beautiful things. We need that more than ever in these kinds of times. But it's going to, how we access it is going to change. How they model their businesses is going to change. So it'll be interesting to see how that's reflected in the work. I hope it doesn't mean that all the really, I'm looking at all my Dior sketches up here on the wall. I hope that all that beauty doesn't just go away. Just people don't give in to that and say, oh, well, we can't do that now. We need to be serious now. Let's hope that they don't do that. Reminds me when Winston Churchill was asked to not give, when he was Prime Minister, and he was asked to cut the arts budget and move that money. Can you imagine nowadays? Move the money for the arts into the war effort. And he said, well, then what are we fighting for? Because if we don't have the arts, then what's the point? There is no civilization then. So here we are. We need to still have beautiful things. And we need these designers to still work on their craft, not to trim it down and make it utilitarian and that's all. Let's still have some beauty in things.
I think what made me feel encouraged was the way Donatella Versace reacted when people were making that joke about Kors Saatchi because Michael Kors bought Versace. And I liked how she got a little testy about it. And then there was a kind of, well, you know, it is a mid-level brand. You know, I love that it was like, she's going to diss the company that's buying her. As like, well, okay, you're not going to be able to buy these two things in the same store. No. And I mean, it's kind of like you can go get Michael Kors, but you won't be buying it, you know, in the same place you're buying Versace. No, okay, it might be owned by one company, but yeah. And I think, okay, and that's just, you know, people wanting to protect brands and getting a little shady doing it.
Yeah.
But there's a real point there, and it goes to like how what you're talking about in terms of preserving the art side of it. That oh my God. I mean, I have to say, I'm seriously worried. And this, when you wrote this post, it started bringing up conjuring, you know, nightmares in my head about not getting couture shows. Like, okay, I get it. Only the super rich can ever buy couture. That doesn't change the fact that those clothes are beautiful and they belong in museums most of the time, not even being worn on people.
That's always been the case. It's not like we all buy couture to go to work.
No, I mean,
it's like we can buy it for a big event. Most of us can't do that.
I mean, if you just like remember the first time we saw a Guopei collection and how blown away we were by everything. And we were just like, this doesn't belong on people. This belongs on mannequins in the Louvre. This just like take it and put it in the Louvre. It deserves to be seen. It's a museum piece. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to stop. I don't want to be deprived of the art of fashion just when we need something pretty.
I don't think it will stop because, I mean, the world has been through awful times before and there was still beautiful clothes. And they might seem frivolous, but we're going to have to change our worldview about a lot of things. And this is just one of those things that you have to change your perspective and say, no, there is a purpose for this and we need this. So continue to make it, please.
Yes. Well, speaking of beautiful, how about if we talk about Louis Vuitton? I'm not Louis Vuitton. Alexander McQueen.
Yes.
Oh, okay. In fairness, we love everything about Alexander McQueen. We love Sarah Burton. Everything about the history of the house, everything the house does, we usually just love it. Yeah. And this collection, like, okay, it was a retread of a lot of ideas we've seen out of Sarah Burton before, but I don't care. When you execute it that well, that just goes to your house's style.
Well, she has history, not just on the McQueen name, but her own. She honors the process and the
she really does.
The artisans of, you know, the weavers and the embroiderers and just the textile manufacture.
Yeah, she likes to go local. She likes to go British.
So that kind of stuff can still be sustained. She managed to make beautiful clothes just by knowing how to source textiles and craftspeople to make a beautiful garment.
They do.
You look at it, you think, oh, there's a tweed suit or something. But then when you look at it closely and you see what how they produced the raw materials for it, it's stunning.
And I have to say, I really liked honestly, I don't know much about the history of the Welsh influences that she was bringing into the collection, but I don't care. That red she uses throughout the, I mean, okay, Alexander McQueen loves, that house is famous for working with beautiful, bright, vibrant reds.
Yeah.
But, oh, wow. The reds she used in this collection, especially that one red suit, the red satin suit, oh my God. It is so beautiful. And I mean, okay, so we only show a small number of pictures in the post because our posts are more about our perspective on it. We just want to give you some examples of what we find in the collection. But you really, if you like Alexander McQueen, you really should go to Vogue, and they have great photography of these things, and you should see the still photography of these outfits. They're fantastic, and it's like, it's ready to wear, but it's really at like the highest level of ready to wear. I mean, it's so beautiful, and the color story here is fantastic. I love that. That pink one. The pink dress with the cutouts.
Yep.
Oh, it's beautiful. And if you and Vogue did a nice write-up of that. Yes, that one. Vogue did a nice write-up of that, where talking about that's not chiffon, it's distressed taffeta.
Right.
I mean, who thinks of things like that? I mean, the woman's a genius. That is fantastic. I mean, it's beautiful.
They come up with these incredible raw materials, and that's great. You could go around the old British Isles and find fantastic cashmere and tweed and okay, we're not known for taffeta, but you can source all those raw materials and gather that together and say, okay, I'm going to make a collection. If you can't put it together well, which Sarah Burton obviously can, it comes down to, you know, having those skills of tailoring and of corsetry and cutting even.
Oh, absolutely.
And just the vision to put all that together in what is often an unusual way.
Oh yeah. I mean, speaking of unusual, and then the spoon dress.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that's a Welsh thing, which I did not know about, the spoon thing, yeah, it's that silver dress. I mean, that is fantastic. Look at that dress. And okay, and you're gonna give a girl a pair of thigh highs with it?
Yeah.
Okay, you already won me over with the dress, but you put black thigh highs with that, you got me.
Yeah.
I'm only human. I can't resist.
Yeah.
And then, and we got a lot of positive responses on that.
But sometimes we look at a show, we may like the individual looks, we may like the garments that are being shown.
Oh yeah.
But we don't always like the styling. And
Yeah.
I think we often, with McQueen, we say, yeah, they've got the styling right for us as well.
Yeah.
Because we sometimes say, well, why did they do that hair? Why did they do that makeup? Why did they do those shoes?
Oh,
Some looks. We don't do that with McQueen.
No, because there's no, Sarah Burton doesn't give us a reason. No, because whoever she gets to style her stuff, they do a fantastic job. They've got it all together. And I mean, even with the suit with black, and then it has a sort of gray and white Prince of Wales check. Oh, that, you know, it goes. Yeah, I mean, the way that is put together, that's fantastic. And she does it in menswear and in women's wear. I think it's the next one. Yeah, I mean, look at that.
Oh, I looked really good doing that, didn't I? It's like I queued it up. I had no idea that was going to be next.
Well, but look at that. And then it's belted. I mean, that needs to be belted. And it's belted. And I mean, and a necklace when you've got bare skin under looks good, but not much.
In this tailoring is, oh,
I mean that okay, because that is a fantastic coat. Look at that.
yeah.
Wouldn't you? I think you would kick a bitch down a flight of stairs to steal that coat.
I might. Depends how long the flight of stairs was.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could look at this, and some of our followers do comment and say, "Oh, you know, where would you wear that?" And you know, those
Everywhere.
Yeah, but some people don't have the vision or whatever it takes to recognize this, because there are some crazy things going on in here, and it's
it's fantastic. Work with it.
But what brings it back is that they have the fundamental design, tailoring. That's all. They can break the rules because they know the rules, and they have some foundation to their craziness.
Because that's key. That's key. You can break the rules when you know what they are.
Right. And they don't break all the rules at once, because then it would just look a mess.
Yeah. Well, we could name some. Oh, I love that dress. That is, I mean, those red. I'm like, okay, but you know me, I'm a sucker for red and black together anyway. But I love that whole look, and that is really a flattering look. It's just fantastic. I love the design. And that red is just beautiful. Oh.
Yep.
Well, how about if we talk about the spotlight you did on Marina Abramovic.
Okay.
Or Abramovic. I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I'm thinking about, I'm on the same kind of thought pattern, about how in times, I don't always want to talk about crisis and pandemics and so on, but it, you know, can't ignore it. And how we look to artists in troubled times, and artists that make us think. Because you can go to a gallery and say, oh, that's a nice painting, or that's a nice piece of art, whatever. But you can go to a department store and do the same thing. You can go to IKEA and pick up some paintings or what have you. But none of that really makes you think. And so we rely on artists who, in the same way, have done their training. So Abramovic is a trained artist, and she trained in Zagreb and in Berlin and in Paris. So, you know, she's got the chops to do these things. And then to her installations, or that her performances, I'm not quite sure how to categorize it. And that again is the mark of an artist, isn't it? Where you can't fit them into one box, kind of thing.
Well, because they're doing something that other people aren't doing.
Yeah. And I was surprised when I was aware of her from the stuff that she was doing at the at MoMA in New York, where there's this crossover between art and performance, where she was seated and people were invited to just sit opposite her. So at first, that's going to make you feel uncomfortable, isn't it? If you're just staring at someone for a length of time, you go through that discomfort, but then you have to think about that discomfort. That is the work of art, to make you think about something, and to make you think about how you're receiving that art and what it says about you as you participate in that. So a lot of her performances are about getting audience participation, and not always positive participation. And I think that's why a lot of people reject what she's doing.
Well, also, it seems like she does a lot of work where she focuses on pain.
Yes.
And that becomes uncomfortable for people.
Right. And even though it's her pain that makes them uncomfortable, but that's where you should stop and think about, you know, why am I witnessing this pain? Why am I maybe even inflicting this pain? And what does that mean in a larger sense?
Yeah, because it puts a focus on the scopic side of pain. What do you get out of watching someone in pain,
Right.
or what do you get out of someone else being? I mean, it's a kind of, it puts the spotlight on Schadenfreude. What are you getting out of this?
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to focus on now, because I think, you know, based on what I do, that I've noticed political trends lately are sometimes about people wanting to see others suffer or cry. Yeah. Like, it's not so much that I win the election, it's that you don't and you cry. It's like there is this thing out there right now with people wanting to see other people feel the pain that their victory caused. It's almost like they don't care about the victory itself, right, but in the pain they cause to the people they don't like.
Yeah.
And I think what is great about what Abramovic does is that it kind of forces you to deal with the pain and how it pulls you in, how it interpolates you, and what that says about you, even if you don't want to think about what that says about you, what that says about where you are and how you participate in political discourse. I think that is groundbreaking work.
And I think it maybe it started in a gendered way, but then that's again just part of her identity, because what surprised me was that she's been doing this since the early 70s. So, I mean, talk about groundbreaking.
I didn't realize she had been around that long.
Right. And one of her first professional installations was in 1973. That was the one that she did up in Edinburgh. So, you know, art reflects the artist. So at that point in her life, possibly, she was acutely aware of her gender and the objectification of her gender. But I think now the stuff that she's doing now has transcended gender, and the stuff that she did with Ule is, you know, the gender is not significant in those later works, because we're all being objectified.
Right now.
Yeah, and it makes us question her identity, our own identity, and as you say, what we're getting out of this. And then you can take that and you say, okay, well, that made me feel really uncomfortable, make it stop. But then you take that and you put it in other parts of your life. So do you want to go to the circus? Do you want to see artists suffer there? Do you want to see animals suffer? Do you want to go to Thailand and ride the elephants? Why is everybody watching this Tiger King guy?
Well, I mean, even more on a more sort of banal level, that's what internet trolling is.
Yeah.
People going on the internet to argue with people and say, I mean, horrifyingly crude things, yeah, and just inappropriate, rude, mean-spirited things, just to try and make people feel bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? Is that, you just woke up in the morning and you had all this aggression, you just had to get it out, so you just went on to try and insult people on the internet that you don't even know?
And they get to that point so quickly.
Yeah.
Because you know me, I like to chat to people.
Oh yes, chat to people. Yes.
But sometimes they, you know, you look at a thread, you've made one or two comments, and they're like, "Go and die."
Yeah.
They say to me, "Just go kill yourself." Like, okay, where did that come from?
I'm telling you, I witnessed. I'm not going to name the colleague, but a colleague that you and I both have, who I thought was being perfectly appropriate and civil and
Yeah.
trying to have a rational conversation on a thread. And this person just came out of nowhere and this is a person who doesn't know our colleague and was
Right.
hurling all these bizarre accusations and saying really, our colleague could sue for slander. I think it was that serious that he could sue for slander. And I thought it was vile and inappropriate, to say the
When we
least.
stop recording, I'm going to ask you what that was because I don't remember that. But yeah, hold on to that thought.
Okay.
But then those people, the internet trolls and the messed up people, are they going to go to a performance like Marina Abramovic performs and really question themselves? I don't think they are. I don't think it's going to get to the people that it needs to get to. But
is that what art does? Art doesn't get to everybody.
No.
Because not everybody is going to appreciate every art form. I mean, I would say there are probably loads of art forms that just don't speak to me. So I don't, while I might be able to appreciate them on aesthetic grounds, it's not going to have much relevance to me personally because it's just not an art form I like.
Yeah. But so long as it makes you think, that we'll talk about some other things that I saw before lockdown that, I don't spend a lot of time in museums or galleries looking at art, but when I do, if it provokes some response, and it stays with you and it makes you think for a bit longer, maybe in a few weeks we'll talk about some of those other things I saw fairly recently before all this started. But now I want to go and find some more of her work. And some of it is shock value. But then I think you have to get past the shock value and say, okay, well, why am I shocked about that? And stop and think about that too.
Yeah.
Stop and think about the shock. Okay, there was blood involved. I think she's working on a higher plane than some of these kind of sort of horror film kind of people that just want to doubt.
Hey, that's a genre that speaks to me.
I know, but you know the really bad versions of that, where it's just
Sharknado.
But it's just intended to make you feel ill or to freak you out.
That's just because of the low-level stars they get that make you feel ill. But yeah, because the special effects are so bad you couldn't get pulled in. But yeah.
And I think Abramovic is working on a different plane.
Oh, definitely.
Because she doesn't just let you be repulsed or shocked and leave you with that. She pushes you a bit further and makes you think about it. So that I can appreciate more than a slasher movie or something.
Wow. Depends on the slasher movie.
You do you. That's fine.
All right. Well, let's move on to talk about how we ended the week, which, we like to end on a positive note if we can. And though it was
He's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy.
Yes. So we ended on Monty Python, which is funny, but making a very serious point. And I think it's because I think what really made me want to write this was that in political discourse, it's partly because the trolling thing we've been talking about, and I've seen so many people, but it's not just the rudeness itself, which is just kind of over the top these days.
Yeah.
But I think there's a kind of bizarre moral perfectionism that kind of takes over in certain political circles, and then it starts looking like the clip that we put with the post from the great Monty Python film, The Life of Brian, where you have this activist group, the People's Front of Judea, which is the Monty Python players plus one actual woman, and
she's not a woman. She's a Welsh tart.
She's a Welsh tart, exactly. And well, and then of course Eric Idle being Loretta.
Yeah.
Was his name Stan, and then he wanted to be Loretta?
I just remember he wanted to be Loretta.
He wanted to be Loretta. And that's actually kind of light years ahead of everybody, because that's kind of a trans moment.
Yeah.
And that was like, what was that movie? Like, was it 1980, 1981 or something like that? It was.
Oh, early 80s, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So, I mean, that's kind of ahead of the curve. But anyway, but they're this group, the People's Front of Judea. It's supposed to be taking place in biblical times. And so, you know, it's Judea under Roman occupation. And so the People's Front of Judea is this tiny group of like 7 or 8 people who say they want to fight against the Romans and drive the Romans out. But what is it that John Cleese says? The only people we hate more than the Romans are the Judean People's Front. So another activist group working for the same exact purpose as the People's Front of Judea, they hate them even more than they hate their occupiers, their oppressors, because they don't agree with them on every damn point that they believe in. And I think that is, this is just, I mean, I think the farther away from the primary season we get, the less this will be a feature. But you see this playing out all the time right now with all these people complaining about, you know, this one isn't perfect enough, that one voted for this and that one voted for that, so that means I obviously can't support them. Like, seriously.
I don't know if this happens in, does this happen in other countries? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. The French left. The British left.
But aren't they
the Italian left?
Maybe.
The Spanish left, although they've gotten their act together a little bit.
I don't know that the left in other countries is as polarized as it is here, because we don't everywhere else.
The French left.
Yeah, but they seem to be a bit more forgiving, don't they?
Well,
you know, you did this terrible thing in your past. Oh well, that was then.
Maybe, but
C'est la vie.
Exactly. But I think the thing that I wanted people to get out of this post is the world is crazy, nobody's perfect, but also what does that get you? Yeah. What does screaming at everybody get you? It's like, you know, why don't you just have a conversation with somebody? Why don't you just find out what it is that, why is it that people have stopped trying to listen? I mean, why don't you hear other people? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I don't choose my friends, because this is a weird thing. Like, I know so many people who do this. I don't choose my friends based on their politics. I choose my friends based on whether or not I think they're good people. I choose my friends based on whether or not we have common interests. I choose my friends on whether I think they can inspire me and I can inspire them to be the best versions of themselves, and that I can be the best version of myself. And so I don't understand why that has to be connected to politics, because I think you can have different political views from your friends and still have a good friendship. And I know plenty of people who agree with me politically that I can't stand. So, you know, what good is it to just sort through, well, this person ticks off like 9 of the 10 boxes politically that I look for, but really you didn't hit that 10 box, so I can't be friends with you. Like, what the hell is that?
And I don't think it was always this way. I don't think I was aware of a friend's personal politics. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to be aware of it, because you could use that other rubric to decide whether you could be friends with somebody. And politics was way down there. I don't know if that's just a privileged position, that you don't have to be politicized. I don't know. I don't know what's happening now.
Well, I think that you should really have a conversation with somebody over choosing confrontation.
Yeah.
And I think you should consider, maybe understanding that when we talk about freedom and liberty, that includes people who don't agree with you.
Right.
Think about how many student papers you and I have to grade all the time.
No, I don't want to think about that.
No, I don't either. But we don't always agree with the perspectives that our students take on things. But we're not grading them on their perspectives.
Right.
We have to have. I mean, if we graded them on our perspectives, then we'd have to give A's to bad essays and F's to good essays.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't do that. And it's more about wanting to encourage their creativity in who they are. And if you want to be just somebody who wants to be right all the time, and just argue with people, I don't understand what that's going to get you. You just become a bitter, confrontational asshole who nobody wants to talk to.
And typically no one's coming up with anything new. Those people that are arguing the loudest and the longest, they're not saying anything new. They're just continuing to say it. It's like people in their, I don't want to be ageist about it, but remember when you were a little bit younger and you really thought that you could change people's minds, and you were passionate about something, you just discovered it. So you were passionate about something, and then you had to tell everybody over and over and over again, ad nauseum, and just shut up. I don't want to know.
Yeah. I think the exuberance of youth can sometimes give in to the arrogance of youth.
Yeah.
And while I do think it's good for people to have passion, I think passion has to sometimes take a backseat to reason.
Yeah.
And you actually have to listen to someone.
Yeah, there has to be some substance. And the arrogance has to go, because, you're not the reincarnation of anything. You just, you're working through some stuff. Just wait until you've worked it out, and then, maybe have a discussion, but spare us in the meantime.
Yes, I agree. So that is why I ended it with, so we have the part with the People's Front of Judea in there, but then also you have to end with always look on the bright side of life, because if a guy who is affixed to a cross in the hot sun in Judea in biblical times, being crucified by the Romans, can sing a song, always look on the bright side of life, then why can't you?
Yeah.
And that's why, of course, any excuse to sneak in Lady Gaga, I decided that, to punctuate that post by putting the Come to Mama song on there. Because I think that, well, first of all, I'm just, that album is totally underrated. I think Joanne is such a great album. And that song, Come to Mama, it kind of previews a lot of where we ended up going politically. That she's talking about, okay, stop screaming at each other. Let's sit down and hammer out these issues, because, okay, whether you're watching us from Britain or France or Nigeria or the United States, wherever you are, the United States is going through some stuff. I think everybody in the world is aware of that. But it's not as if this is just an American problem. It's true that Americans do need to sit down and listen to one another, and that is an issue. But it's not as if we're the only ones.
No. But if America starts leading the way again, then maybe everybody else will follow.
Yes, I think we do need to listen to one another. I think there are real policy issues in the United States that need to be addressed. And instead of, going into a defensive crouch and everybody, getting down to their bunkers and waiting for a nuclear holocaust to hit, how about if we just sit down and talk to each other and say, like, okay, we're not going to reach a resolution on every single issue, but there are big issues that we all do care about, that we all do need to deal with, and we can do that.
And I do have hope that that will, that what we're going through now will initiate that. Because I think, you know, when you have the rug pulled out from under you, like a pandemic will do, you do start to reevaluate and reassess your priorities and think, oh, okay, so this is a healthcare issue. And, you know, if you've lost your job, you've lost your healthcare. That doesn't seem right. Or whatever other facet of this situation you focus on. So I think people will start to question, like Abramovic was forcing you to do. You start to question your values and priorities and your identity and say, well, you know, do I want to be associated with this? Is this what I want my legacy to be? So I have hope that people will get it together and realize that we do have to rely on other people, other nations and other parts of the world, and we can't be isolationist and say, well, I've got mine now and I'm not going to help anybody else.
Exactly.
You see it on a statewide basis, you see it on a national basis, you see it from one city to another now.
And to quote the great Lady Gaga, there's going to be no future if we don't figure this out.
Right. Yeah, another one who knows what she's talking about.
She does.
Well,
all right.
So
I think we've set the world right. We've
good
fixed everything.
I've got something interesting for you next week. Well, it's interesting to me. Let's see if it's interesting to everybody else. But it has something to do with windows and views and so on. So look out for that next week.
Well, I have breaking news on London Fashion Week. That's what you can look for from me next week.
Oh, okay. Nice bit of London Fashion Week. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you again.
I look forward to seeing you too.
Nice to see your face as usual.
Wonderful to see you, dear.
Have a good week.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Is the recorder